So as a special operations guy, there's a playbook on how to take over a country. And I like to poke fun at our northern friends in Canada, just because instead of using like a war torn country, let's just talk about Canada, Canada. Um, if Frank, if you and I were going to go take over, if we were going to go invade Canada and take it over by force, right? Would we be worried about the women and children? No. Would we be worried about the elderly? No. Who would our threat be?
Military age men.
Military age men. All right. So from an asymmetrical warfare environment, and which is crazy because I think in the 70s the WEF said this. How do we mitigate military age males? Okay. So if I want to invade a country and take it over, and I don't want to like have this force of military age males push back on me, which they would, how do I negate them? Well, let's do this. Let's make them distracted, fat, and addicted to booze, women, pornography, drugs, gambling, things that are going to distract. Let's remove their faith. Okay. Let's remove fathers from the home. And if we do this, we can literally take over a country without firing a shot. Now let's turn our view to the America. What has happened over the last 100 years in America? We have slowly degraded the family unit. We have made men dependent. We have made men distracted. And this is really my wake-up call was in 2020 when I looked at COVID, what happened with COVID. And I was like, oh, wow. Because how did this happen? I don't know if you know, but my gym got raided during COVID by the cops. And I felt like John Rambo. I'm like, I served my country. I'm just doing my thing. No one knew my faith, political. I mean, I didn't talk about any of that stuff. I was just running my businesses and having fun, long hair, skateboarding, surfing, with my family, doing my thing and having fun. And then they drew first blood. It's like they poked a bear. And that's kind of when I went to war against all this stuff. And I was like, how? And I'm just sitting back going, how did this happen? How did we allow this to happen? And as I dove into it and really looked at it, I said, oh, men, we allowed it to happen. Because if we didn't have an obesity epidemic, if we didn't have a heart disease epidemic, if we didn't have a fatherless home epidemic, if we actually had the values that men had decades prior, if we had God in the home again, men as a community across the country would have been like, no, you're not doing this to our kids. You're not doing this to our families. You're not doing this to the businesses in our community. You're going to find another way because this doesn't serve us. This doesn't serve our communities. This doesn't serve our families. And I'm not arguing about the health side. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about all of the other things. Whether where you stand on COVID, regardless, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking the fact that the men just completely laid down.
Yeah.
They laid down. And why? Because they didn't have the energy. They were not thinking with their heads. They were like, I'll stay at home, watch pornography, chill on Netflix, order my triple deluxe burrito from Uber Eats and focus on, just me. And that's how you take over a country without firing a shot. And that's exactly what they've done. And this didn't happen overnight. This was slowly eroded over the last 100 years. And they did just that. It's go look up asymmetrical warfare, how you take over a country. Go look at what special operations and the CIA did in Panama and South America. What we did in the Middle East.
It's outlined in the book, The Naked Communist. I don't know if you've read it or are familiar with it, but yeah, I think it was privately published in the 40s. I think mid 40s, the American Communist Party literally gave us a blueprint. Like, go grab it off the bookshelf right now. It's like, there's the 50 steps, and it's every single thing that you just shared there, man. Yeah, I saw friends, man, during that time just submit. And I was fortunate. I was here in Florida. I was already online. I stayed kind of isolated, but I did the best that I could. I think there was one place I was like denied entry into, but we had a gym that stayed open after kind of the 2-week spread. And if I went out with a family or I went out with friends, like to a restaurant, I wasn't putting a mask on. You could kick me out. But the thing is, man, I don't think people understood, because they would see me do it and I'd walk right in. And if you hold your confidence and you hold your ground and you just smile and you just be, like, there was no pushback. Maybe it helped. I'm 6'3", 250, but like
Hey,
there wasn't as much resistance as I think people
Frank,
thought there was going to be.
I think that says something too. That's what I said goes back to. I posted a video on YouTube talking about this. I was like, get jacked,
Yeah.
become dangerous.
Yeah.
And it has nothing to do, and people like, and I'm not saying that you're, just because you're jacked, you're dangerous. That's not what I'm saying. I mean, like, train martial arts, do jiu-jitsu, kickbox, do Muay Thai, like, learn these skills, not because you need to use them. And anybody that has those skills don't want to use them publicly.
Don't use them.
They don't use them. They avoid altercation. It's not about that. It's about the way that you carry yourself. It's your confidence, the way you show up, the way you walk in the room, the way people look at you. They see you differently. That's what matters. That's why it's important.
Let's pivot here. And maybe, obviously a lot of guys, they're gonna feel a call here. Something's gonna start to kind of spur up inside of them with everything we've discussed here so far. Kind of gives guys some tools here. If a guy accepts this call, begins to take this responsibility, first question, Nick, is like, what should he expect on the other side? Right? Like, it's not going to be easy, is it? Like, it's not just because you accept responsibility and you start to get jacked that life just becomes simple and easy. What's the expectation when you accept this responsibility?
It's so funny you say that, man, because like with our group, I'm like an anti-sales guy. I'm like, if you choose this path, your life will be exponentially harder, in a way. I mean, choose your hard, right? Um, choose hard now, easy later, or easy now and hard later. I choose hard now, but the reality is this. Um, no, it won't it won't be easier. Your life will be exponentially harder because society is set against you. You now have you will have to develop a set of core values that you have to stick to and you cannot waver from. And every single person and everything in your life is going to challenge you to waver on your core values and your rules of engagement for life. So that's going to be hard. The system is set up against you to where everything is going to push back on you. There's something called the law of averages. We celebrate mediocrity. We praise mediocrity. We praise the herd, and we celebrate the herd mentality. And what happens is, I'm a bit of a nerd. That's not true. I'm a lot of a nerd. Do you remember Loki and the whole? Did you ever see Loki and the time? I forgot what it's called. Time Authority variant. So there's a show. It's a Marvel show.
Loki is Thor's brother.
Yes. Yeah. And essentially in this show, they have like the master timeline. And every time that something happens in that timeline where it branches off and creates like an alternate dimension timeline, they trim it, they cut it, because they want to create this soul timeline. So they kill an entire universe off to create this one single universe. Well, that's what I looked at that. I was like, oh, that's the law of averages. We want everybody here, just right here, and anybody that branches off on their own is looked at, negatively. Like, why are you doing that? Fall in line, follow the herd. And you'll know this because of this. When a man decides to take ownership of his life, stop being the victim and start being the victor of his life, whether it's his fitness, his health, his faith, his addictions, all right, you will find that as soon as you start doing that, you meet resistance. And it's almost like the universe is pulling you back into it. And there's this gravitational pull. Like, for instance, say this. Let's talk about your mission, pornography. I'm going to do a no pornography challenge for 30 days. I'm not going to look at anything. I'm not going to search anything. I'm not going to look at anything. Day one, and you can put this with alcohol. You can put this with any addiction. Day one, that gravitational pull is very tight, right? Like, think about, you're on the earth, you make a jump, you're like 1 foot in the air. If you can jump 1 foot, good for you. If you jump in the air, how fast are you coming back? How fast is that gravitational pull, right? But when you start getting to closer to outer space, how hard is that gravitational pull? It's not as hard. So the thing is day one is really fucking hard, man. Day one is hard. Day two, hard. Day 30, not as hard. Still hard, but now you're starting to get to that atmosphere, right? That's the problem. Is everything, if you start to lose weight, people are going to be like, oh man, or you're eating different. What do they say? Oh, live a little bit. It's just one thing. It's just one beer. It's just one thing. They start, and here's what's sad is it has nothing to do with you. Has nothing to do with what you're doing. It's the fact that what you're doing and the discipline that you're taking and you trying to better yourself makes them feel bad. So the reality is this herd mentality, the law of averages, this mediocre lifestyle, because how dare you break away? How dare you create core values? How dare you go try to better yourself? And so what happens is people start to break away, and the resistance, the gravitational pull becomes too much, and they come back down.
Crab in the bucket.
Crabs in the bucket, man. Great story. Yep.